the offense can hum and some of the receivers can kind of prove they're playmakers, I think A&M could be a surprise.
Welcome into TexAgs Rewind presented by Specs. I am David Nuno. I just spit on the studio, so we're going to have to disinfect that before Billy gets in here. Riley Tunnicliffe, last day on the show. He's here with us. Hello, Riley.
How are you doing today?
Riley's done a great job. I've bragged about him before. He was not going to get hired because I didn't see his resume. That's the only reason. But he showed up to TexAgs like, can you interview me? And I interviewed him, and he did an awesome job this summer. You were great, man, so we're going to miss seeing you around.
I appreciate it. And I just wanted to say, like, you know, if you want to go do something, you want something, you can't just, like, sit back and not do it. I think that me coming in and asking you about, hey, can I get an interview? It worked. I interviewed that day, and I got the job in a week. And so it was an amazing summer. I loved it and really enjoyed my time here. Met some awesome people, met some awesome hosts. And it was just an all-around crazy summer, so it was cool to be an intern for this.
That's basically, what's his name, Tony Robbins and Buzz Williams all in one. He motivated the entire audience to go get their job. What was your favorite part of the show today?
I really liked Brandon Marcello. I thought he added a lot to our conversation today. I thought that his CFP takes were really good. He had a lot to say on different teams that weren't A&M, and I liked that. I thought it was good to add some different spice and flavor into the show.
Matthew Dawson, your favorite part of the show?
Coach Steve Denton.
Oh, good answer. I'm glad. I was very happy with that interview because we talked football, we talked Olympics, we talked tennis, we talked life. He was great. We also had Mike Wachsman on the show from CFB Focus, and of course Olin Buchanan talking about you're not allowed to wear open-toe shoes to studio. That is a rule that I thought I implemented 3 years ago, but apparently it's not happening this week. That and more on the Rewind.
A productive guy, and he's a tough guy. He'll go across the middle. Sometimes last year, to be honest, his he had a few drops, but I think he cleaned that up. And he's just a good player.
Can I read you some stats from those last few games?
Yeah,
It looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. Last 5 games against Ole Miss, 8 catches, 100 yards. Is that good?
Yeah, that's very good. Very good.
The next game was the only game that he didn't get the ball much. Mississippi State, 1 catch for 11 yards, but he had a touchdown. After that, ACU, 4 catches, 88 yards. Good?
Yeah.
The next game, LSU, 4 catches, 80 yards. Yeah. And then the final game, 8 catches, 137 yards. The guy was playing. Look, I mean this with all due respect to All-Day Walker, Jade. If he's your third best receiver,
you're in good shape.
You're in really good shape. And does he have potential to be one of your top 2 receivers? Absolutely, with those kind of numbers.
He, again, that's what I really admire about the guy is he never got discouraged. He stayed at it, and then when he was needed, he stepped in, and there's all this weeping and gnashing of teeth. Well, maybe there's not. It's just that's what the national media would tell you about Evan Stewart leaving for Oregon, and yet this guy produced more than Evan Stewart.
Yeah.
Now, I like Janae Walker. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I do too. And, again, another comment with all due respect. If the transfers that they picked up, and Cyrus Allen and Jabri Barber, if they are what Jade was last year, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a potential that both of those guys are even better. But I guess what I'm saying is if you get that level of production from your transfers or that level of ability, maybe not, you can't have everybody having 600 yards.
But can come in and make a significant impact to the team in whatever their role is.
I think Jade is one of the receivers that I could see become emerging as a top threat.
Okay.
And also completely fine with him as your second, third threat.
Well, again, I've made the comparison before, and I think you agree with me that he kind of is in the Jamon Osborne kind of mode. I don't know that he's the guy that's consistently going to beat guys deep. He's going to stretch the field. But, man, if I need if I need somebody who'll go across the middle and make a tough catch and isn't going to be afraid of anybody. In fact, maybe DB might get afraid of him.
Yeah.
Physical guy. He's not Mike Evans, but Mike Evans was a physical guy that would go across, catch it anywhere without worrying about who else is out there. I think that's Janae Walker.
I think the interesting part for Coach Elko and this A&M team is the fact that when you try to establish a new culture and a new system, that first month of the season, while not terribly daunting, is tough. Notre Dame, obviously, is a top 10 team. Going on the road to Gainesville, which Florida thinks that's a winnable game for them. Like that, and I think learning how to play as a team can only happen during games. It can't necessarily happen at practice. And I think that's going to be – so they might be a team like Auburn who is way better at the end of the year.
No, you're exactly right. And you look at that schedule for A&M, as you just mentioned. Notre Dame obviously going to be tough. Florida game will be tough. And the reason why Florida fans are saying that's a winnable game is because look at their schedule. What is winnable on their schedule? That schedule is incredibly tough, not just those last 5 games for them. But, you're exactly right. I think as much as, Aggie fans might be sitting there thinking, I kind of have an idea that we could be, a 9-win team this year, 8-win team or whatever, which in retrospect kind of looks, when you look back over the years, the last 4 to 5 years of the SEC, you say 8 wins in the SEC, and it's almost like saying a dirty word. But in this new era of the SEC, it is going to be so freaking tough to get to 8 wins nowadays, especially if the SEC, as I believe, goes to 9 games, conference games here the next year or two. It's going to be a lot like the NFL in the AFC or whatever. A lot of teams are going to be finishing 500 that you go, well, in the Big 12 or something like that, it's probably a 9-win team, something like that. It's not necessarily a bad thing anymore. In fact, I think the SEC or the Big 10 will end up being that first conference that ends up getting a 9-3 team in the college football playoff here the next 3 to 4 years. But no, you're exactly right when it comes to getting that team together, playing together, figuring out the identity. I mean, heck, as you know, every single team, we don't quite know the identity of the team until after that first month of the season. And when you've added so many new pieces to the puzzle there through the transfer portal and everything, it's going to take some time to figure out the identity. So if I'm an A&M fan, if those games, as you mentioned, Notre Dame, which I think a lot of Aggie fans would say maybe would be a loss. But I'm going to say this. If the A&M Notre Dame game is close, that is a lot of hope for Texas A&M fans, even if it's chalked up as a loss. But I'll tell you what, when we talk about A&M this year and just all the unknowns, I just listen to the stories about Connor, that quarterback behind the scenes, and how confident he is and how he's almost got some swagger to him. I won't call it arrogance. I'll say it's some swagger. That's a quarterback that you want leading them through this new era. And that's what A&M needs, is someone that kind of galvanize just not the fan base like Jimbo did or whatever, saying things, but that locker room and someone they could really believe in. And I think he's going to have a huge year for them.
I think that he is going to be the breath of fresh air that they need. Just for reference, they were 26, so they don't have to do a whole lot to get in. A lot of it's going to be based on the health of Connor Wachsman, obviously, and whether the offensive line can improve on its inconsistency and staying healthy from last season. I think moving Chase Basantis inside will help. And I think that having Ruben Fothery back and hopefully healthy is a big thing. But Wachsman, keeping him upright, Colin Klein being the offensive coordinator, always seems to get the best out of his quarterbacks. He seems to play to their strengths. So if the offense can roll, the defense was one of the better units in the SEC last year. Almost impossible to run on, didn't give up a lot of touchdowns. Get Nick Scorton from Purdue, so they'll be able to get after the passer. So I really think it's on the offense, and I think if the offense can hum and some of the receivers can kind of prove their playmakers, I think A&M could be a surprise.
All right, so let's just say that Colin Klein's offense from K-State travels to A&M and it works, okay? Are we talking 9-win kind of team, 10-win kind of team? What do you think?
I think this could be a double-digit team. Certainly the schedule has some landmines on it, but it's not like Florida difficult. But there are some spots where they're going to have to be kind of on their P's and Q's. I mean, the opener isn't going to be any real cakewalk, but if they won 9, I think that would be a good start. If they won 8, I think it would be a little bit disappointing, although I tend to give coaches in their first year bringing in a new system, I give them a little bit of a pass. But I mean, Elko has been at A&M before. He knows what's expected. He knows the culture. I know he's trying to instill his own. So I don't think 10 wins is out of the question, certainly. And I think that should be a really, really positive season for fans from an expectation standpoint.
Sounds to me that you're not surprised by all the success.
No, he's a tremendously hard worker, got a lot of humility. I can remember when we were in when he was in college, I talked to him about some specific serves, some specific things in his game that I thought would keep him off the tour. One of them was to be able to hit a wide serve as a lefty on the ad court. And so on match point against Alcaraz, he hits an ace out wide, and we talked about it afterwards. He said, yeah, I was saving that one, Coach. And it was so cool to see his 14 or 15 years on the tour of how he's really just continued to get better and better and better, to not be deterred by losses along the way. It was amazing to watch. And when we were here at school together, our office was sitting next to Court 1. And so in the morning when I would come to work, I would hear bang, bang, bang. That was him out practicing his serve on his own. It was that kind of work ethic that he had is the reason why he's as successful today.
Tony Cliff, tell the people what to do.
You need to like, you need to comment, you need to subscribe, and keep up to date with any TexAgs news.
Yeah, how do they keep it up to date? They should probably get the app, right?
They get the app. They follow us on YouTube,
Yep.
and they keep up to date. Just watch everything.
Keep us up to date on your life, all right, man?
All right, I will.
See you
Sounds
next
good.
time.